Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Black Logic. So, I have a couple of news update for you guys, as well as a couple of news stories as well. We'll be covering the market today and how the market has slid back into what seems to be a recession. We also have Moscow release dual national and prisoner swap, as well as the GOP delays the budget vote, even involving internal disputes. Oil prices retreat as U.S.-China trade war escalates, as well as U.S. to monitor immigrants' social media for anti-Semitism. We're going to get into some reports and statistics according to the FBI and the Department of Justice when it comes to hate crimes and who are the suspects, who are the perpetrators, as well as illegal immigration and black farmers. So I have a whole lineup for you guys, so I will not toy here too long with these particular headlines. So let's get into it, because the financial markets are experiencing significant turbulence because the Dow Jones Industrial Average, S&P 500, as well as the NASDAQ futures have all taken a big hit. And this downturn follows President Trump's recent decision to pause certain tariffs, a move that initially sparked optimism, as I was going over this just yesterday, how the market exploded, but since led to a reality check among investors. Now, the initial euphoria has given way to concerns about the broader implications of ongoing trade tensions and their potential impact on the global economy. So, as I stated before, that the market in these first 100 days, these first 3 or so months, is going to be very, very rocking, and even more so because of the 90-day pause of tariffs. You're going to see the market again more volatile than it has been in quite some time, as countries are coming to America, calling into America to negotiate a better deal for their countries. In a significant development, Moscow has released Konstantina Kalana, a U.S.-Russian dual national and former ballet dancer who was in prison for treason. Kalana was detained for making a modest donation to a charity supporting Ukraine. Now, she is she's Russian, but she is a U.S. citizen. But she gave a very large donation to support Ukraine, which the Russian authorities deem as treasonous. Her reason was part of a prisoner swap between the United States and Russia, and highlighting this very complex and often tense diplomatic relations between the two nations. They say, hey, listen, you're Russian and we understand that you're American as well, but you're supporting Ukraine against your own country. So we look at this as very treasonous, but we did some sort of prisoner swap. I'm trying to figure out, who do we give up in order to get this U.S.-Russian citizen? I'll keep you guys updated with that as well. And if you're new to Black Logic, please hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell, so you are notified every time I release a video or go live. Now, turning to domestic politics, the House GOP is facing internal chaos after Speaker Mike Johnson pulled a scheduled vote on the budget blueprint. And this particular decision comes amid disagreements within the party, particularly from hardline conservatives demanding more substantial spending cuts. The postponement underscores the challenges facing the GOP as they attempt to advance President Trump's legislative agenda, which includes a very, very significant tax cuts and spending reduction. So they're having infighting even within the Republican Conservative Party, and hopefully they can mend these things, because, Alin, a lot of these political parties love to see infighting of the other group. They love to see imploding of the other group. But at the end of the day, ask yourself this question: who does that help and who does that hurt? At the end of the day will end when politicians come to the table and only look towards doing the betterment of the American people. That is what we want. That is why all these different political parties, whether it be the Democrats and or Republicans, why Americans come out in droves in order to vote people into office based upon the promises that they make. Now, on the energy front, oil prices have retreated following a sharp rally, and this fluctuation is largely attributed to the escalating trade war between the United States and China. President Trump's decision to increase tariffs on Chinese imports has intensified tensions, leading to concerns about global economic growth and consequently a decrease in oil demand. Again, inflation is up, the market is volatile. There's a lot of things going on in the world, but especially in America, because again, the Trump administration is spearheading a lot of the volatility in the market as well as the global trade sector. Again, America First agenda, as I stated many a times before, is going to be a bumpy ride. And we don't know how long this is going to last. Hopefully this subsides around the 3 to 6 month mark, because the only question I have for us is how much more can we take? Regardless if you voted for President Trump or not, whether you for his administration or not, all of us are in this together. And I know people just hate that, but that is the reality that we live in, no less. Now, in policy news, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service has announced that it will begin monitoring immigrants, aka spying on immigrants, and social media accounts for anti-Semitic activity. Anti-Semitic activity. And basically what they're stating in this, because do not forget that Palestinians are Palestinians are Semitic as well. But in these regards, they're talking about the Jewish community. And this initiative aims to identify individuals whose online behavior may be grounds for denying immigration benefits. And advocacy groups have raised concerns about potential infringements on free speech and the subject nature of determining what constitutes a anti-Semitic activity. Like, just because you're speaking your mind, is that anti-Semitic or is that hate speech? Now, if you are a legal resident or you just become, you had a visa or maybe a student visa, work visa, I would deter from such conversation on your social media accounts, because America is cracking down on any anti-Semitic activity. And this is largely related to the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas that is occurring in the country of Palestine. So I would definitely advise against any anti-Semitic activity in any form or fashion if you are part of that status. And in some regards, even American citizens. Even American citizens, it amazes me how some groups have, even though their population is not as large as other groups, have more backing from the U.S. government, more justice from the U.S. government than other groups with higher percentages of hate crimes. And that brings me to my next segment that I want to break down here. And I'm not gonna try to say too long, but I want to break down some information because I think it's utterly important that we go to the source itself and look at the statistics that they are actually reporting. I want you guys to really see this. Now, the DOJ statements on hate targeting Jewish, Arab, Muslim, and Palestinian communities, they have whole reports just from last month. They actually created task force to combat anti-Semitism, and Justice Department announces formation of formations of task force to combat anti-Semitism. They're creating task force in order to tackle this ongoing problem of anti-Semitism. Okay, so I just want to give you some contrast here, because what I did was I went and I looked at certain states according to the Department of Justice by the way of the FBI, but I wanted to point out certain states and what are some of the crimes that they're reporting, some of their headline news that they have in some of these states. So California. So I highlighted, now we're going to go over some statistics later, but I wanted to highlight a couple of stories here. I think I just have one for California, and this has to do with race, national origin. It states here that a California man was charged with hate crimes for punching an Asian American woman in Culver City while yelling racial slurs at her. So if you go down here, they highlight some stories dating back 4 or 5 years or so, and what was the cause of it, national origin, race, sexual orientation, sexual identity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So again, there's a high population of Asians in California. So again, majority of crimes that may be committed against the Asian community, most happily with states that are populated with the most Asians. So in regards of statistics, that makes sense to me. Now let's go to Texas. Now, if anyone are familiar with the certain demographics of Texas, of course, you have Caucasians, you have blacks, you have Asians, and you have Hispanics. Now, believe it or not, the largest population of black people is actually in Texas. I don't know if you guys were familiar there, but the highest population of black people actually are in Texas. They have a high population of Asians. They have a high population of Indian as well. But I just highlighted a couple of stories here as well. A Texas man has been charged with a federal hate crime for making threats against the employees of a Zeke nonprofit organization. Now, if you guys are not familiar with Zeke, it is a religion in the Punjabi when it comes to Indian people from the country of India. Also, a Texas man was sentenced to more than 2 years in prison for sending a series of anti-Semitic death threats, and that was targeting Jewish people, okay? Last, a Texas man was sentenced to 90 consecutive life sentencing in prison for carrying out a mass shooting at a Vista Walmart in El Paso, Texas. It states that the defendant wrote a manifesto and uploaded it to social media minutes before he launched his attack. He characterized himself as a white nationalist motivated to kill Hispanics because they were immigrating to the United States of America. This is Florida. It states here that a Florida man was sentenced to 5 years in prison for racially motivated attacks on 2 black women. He used racial slurs, told her that she could not sit there, and threatened to kill her. Then he retrieved his shotgun and fired a single shot. Also, a Florida man pleaded guilty to assaulting a postal worker wearing a hijab. This is most likely religion and national origin. Seems as though she might be Muslim, but he called the victim the B word and said, if I had a gun and go back to your country. When the victim got back in her vehicle, the defendant climbed into the vehicle, attacking her, spitting on her, and removing her hijab. Feeling trapped, the victim got out of her mail truck, but the defendant followed her, continued to physically harass her, and yell, "Effing Islam, you are a terrorist." A Florida man was sentenced to 6 months in prison for leaving threatening messages at a Jewish organization. A Florida man charged by a grand jury for repeatedly threatening the Council on American Islamic Relations. A Florida man sentenced to 1 year and a day in prison and 2 years of supervised release for a bias-motivated attack on 6 black men. Now, according to the evidence, in September of 2022, the defendant drove his truck towards the group of 6 black men because of their race. The men were surveying land along a public road near the location of the 1923 Rosewood Massacre when the attack took place. The defendant shouted racial slurs at the victims while almost hitting them with his truck. So as we're looking and breaking down a lot of these race relations in America, I'm pointing out a couple of key states. I'm not going to go through all 50 of them. This is Massachusetts. Okay, this is Massachusetts. They have a plethora of different stories of things that have occurred around the nation. But I wanted to point out certain states and some of the atrocities that are happening in America and who are the suspects, who are the perpetrators. Tennessee, the home and birthplace of the KKK. Let's see some stories here. I don't believe I highlighted any. But again, Tennessee man pleads guilty to federal hate crime, civil rights violation of series of church arsons. And we know those churches were black churches and synagogues. FBI, Memphis, and U.S. Attorney Office or Western District of Tennessee urged the public to report hate crimes. More church arsons, U.S. Attorney for Western District. Okay, they're just kind of repeating the stories there. But they have ongoing attacks against certain communities. Now, what's imperative about this is the face of the legacy and mass media have pointed people that look like me as the perpetrators and suspects of a lot of these anti-Semitic crimes, anti-Asian crimes, anti-Muslim crimes. They have shown that black folk are the perpetrators and suspects of such crimes. Facts and statistics. When you come to the facts and statistics page, they kind of just give you a couple of round up percentages. They really doesn't point out any particular uh, group of people that are committing these crimes when you go to the justice.gov and you go to the hate crime statistics. They just kind of show you from year to year of the reported crimes, the known offenders, victims versus this and that. It really doesn't give you anything, but they basically are stating that majority of the crime in America is contributed to race, ethnicity, and your ancestry. That over 50% of the crimes in America, over 50% of the hate crimes in America are based upon your race, while 22% is your religion and 18.4% is your sexual orientation. But if we dive a little bit deeper and we go to the FBI Crime Data Explorer, we started to see the statistics broken up into certain categories like bias types. So as soon as you come to this page, you see the categories here. You see anti-American Indian or Alaskan Native at 540. And these are simple numbers, that is, not percentages. But you see the highest number here is anti-Asian. And you will automatically believe that the majority of the bias and hate crimes when it comes to race, okay, when it comes to race, is done upon the Asian community. That includes Indian folk as well. And I don't mean Native Americans, I mean people who are from India. You will automatically think that the majority of hate crime are committed against the Asian community. In the Asian community is only 7 to 9% of the US population. And when you come down here, hate crime in the United States by bias, you see the majority of it is aggravated assault. We drill down just a little bit further. It says, who are the offenders? And you see the majority here says Black or African American at 7,670. You go over to the offender ethnicity. It says that not Hispanic or Latino at 13,773. So automatically you're thinking that 7,000 number has to be part of that 13,000 number. Well, why do they separate it and not just add that number into the offenders of race when it comes to Black Americans? Well, you have to do a little more digging right here on this particular site. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just flipping the script here. So I drilled down a little bit further to get more information. Now we have the actual numbers. Anti-Black, anti-Jewish, anti-gay, anti-white, and anti-Hispanic. If you notice, the original number for Asian was 2016. So they're not even in the highest number when you drill down within the categories. Majority of the hate crimes in America are committed against Black Americans. They're more than doubling each and every other group. But if you didn't drill down and do proper research, you would just believe that majority of the hate crimes are committed against Asian Americans. That is not the truth. Majority of hate crimes in America are committed against Black Americans, double, almost triple more so, or triple rather, than Jewish folk, as well as people who are part of the LGBT community, people who are Caucasian, and people who are Hispanic or Latino. Let's drill down a bit further. We come out to the offender's race. Majority of the offenders of hate crimes in America are white. It more than quadruple that, well, not quadruple, it triples that of Black Americans. And we come over to his not Hispanic or Latino, you still have that 13,773 number. So I want to do a more detailed list of crimes in America and those offenders of those crimes, because again, people that look like me are the face of crime in America. Even though that the FBI is reporting that majority of the hate crimes in America are committed by Caucasian Americans. And again, it's only have 20,000. I'm not stating that all Caucasian Americans, all white Americans are committing crimes. I'm not stating that at all, because, if you don't say it, people automatically think he's talking about all white people. No, I'm not. Okay, there's good white people and there's good black people, good Asian people, good everybody. But there are some perpetrators and suspects that the media has for a very long time has put this face on the screen of a very small percentage of black Americans that is committing 90% of the crimes. They will have you to believe that majority of black Americans are committing 90% of the crimes, but that is not the statistics. You can go on social media and look at all the crime, all the assaults that's committed about every and each group. But in order to really find the suspects and perpetrators, you have to look at the statistics and things that are being reported. And I know some people are going to say, well, those numbers can be fudged. I know what I see. You know what you are shown. You know what they want you to see. But again, because social media and media is so vast, because everybody has a cell phone, everybody has a social media account, now the table is turning. But these statistics have always been here. So again, let's look at some of the crime data here. And on your left, you see the race, and on the right, you see the percent of the distribution of who is committing such crimes. Now, when it says murder and non-negligent manslaughter, you see black Americans at 51.2%. Now, manslaughter could just be someone got into a fight, bumped their head, and they died. Or it could just be gang violence. It can be a sense of all these different attributes that are contributed to people getting murdered, people getting killed, and manslaughter as well. So again, I'm just going to look down the numbers of percentages. Of course, on the left, you see race and the simple numbers. You see white, black, American, Indian, Alaskan Native, Asian, and Pacific Islanders. So when it comes to rate, Caucasians outnumber every other group. When it comes to robbery, black Americans outnumber each and every group. And when I thought about the robbery sense of this, I would like to believe that the demographic of people who are the poorest in the nation possibly have the highest crime rate when it comes to robbery, because you take what you don't have. And I'm not giving just cause for crime. This should not be the occurrence. This should not be the end all be all of why people commit crimes. But we understand that homelessness, the lack of resources and opportunity does lead to crime. It's just an indicator. It's just one of those things that we know to be true, that if you don't have the opportunity to make your own money and to provide for your family, you will go out and get it out the mud, however that may be. Let me move on. Aggravated assault, mostly committed by white Americans. Burglary, mostly committed by white Americans. Larceny theft, white Americans. Motor theft, white Americans. Arson, white Americans. Violent crime, white Americans. And again, we look at the percentage over here on the right column, 59%. So 60% of violent crimes in America are committed by white Americans. Property crime, white Americans. Almost 30% of property crime. And I want you guys to keep this 30% in your mind, because we're going to get into property crime a little bit later here, okay? And they have black Americans at only 2%. Other assaults, 455,000, almost 456,000, white Americans. Forgery and counterfeiting, white Americans. Fraud, white Americans. Embezzlement, white Americans. Stolen property, buying, receiving, possession, white Americans. Vandalism, white Americans. Weapons carrying possession, white Americans. Prostitution and commercialized vice, white Americans. Okay, let's see. Drug abuse and violation. Drug abuse and violation, white Americans. What about all those black people smoking weed and crack? White Americans. driving under the influence, white Americans. Liquor laws, white Americans. Drunkenness, white Americans. Disorderly conduct, white Americans. Vagrancy, white Americans. Disorderly conduct, they say. I don't see any white folk committing disorderly conduct in public. I haven't seen any fist fights, any rowdy people in the streets doing anything of the sort.
Hey, stop that! Hey!
No, this is super inappropriate. No. Dude, stop. Dude, stop. Stop. You need to stop.
You fucking hit me first.
Okay, you should not be hitting, sir. I didn't see it. I'm sorry. I was coming around the corner. But he was being rude to you, and I understand you're upset too.
You're on me, motherfucker.
Let him go. Let him go.
Let go of your grip.
Let him go. Let him
Let go
go.
of your grip.
Olivia, get Mima. We have to go. This has gotten to a crazy level of dysfunction.
Please let go of me, sir. You're gonna get off me and let me get up.
So again, of course, this is a very small example, but I know you guys are tired of the narrative of black on black crime. I know that you guys are tired of the narrative of black on black crime, where the statistics that's by this government is literally pointing out percentages and simple numbers of who is committing the most crimes in America. Now, I'm gonna go back up to one statistics because this is, a very detailed, itemized list. But I want to go back to violent crime. Okay, we can go to drug abuse, but I want to look for the one that has violent crime. Give me 1 second. Violent crime, because that's the one that most people, that's kind of one of those key words. And violent crime is right here. I'm just going to point out these two here. Okay, violent crime. They double that of black Americans. They almost double that of black Americans, rather. But why is this? Because the numbers that they show us, the display and the depiction that they show us on mass media, and it really doesn't matter whether it's liberal media or conservative media, they always point to black people are the problem. Certain racial pundits like your Nick Fuentes will point out that black people are the problem. So you're telling me that black people are the problem for white people committing crimes against, from white people committing crimes against every other community. That's what you're telling me. So when I see people point to black people as a problem, even your Jason Whitlocks, who are your tokens, even Jason Whitlock would tell you, oh, it's the black American culture. It's the mother and father not being in the home, where this government are reporting against themselves and letting the American people know who are the suspects and who are the perpetrators. Who are the people who are committing these hate crimes? Who are the people who are committing these violent crimes? But the American people, now, if I'm Caucasian and I'm biased, then like, oh, they're fudging the numbers, and that's why President Trump is in office, and we're gonna get this DEI out of our reporting statistics. And if I'm Caucasian and I'm neutral, and I didn't know this, and maybe I'm the wrong face to report it, I'm gonna go do my research. And I'm gonna get maybe 2 other sources to verify that what this guy on the internet is saying is true, instead of just believing what Fox News, CSNBC, CNN, NBC, ABC are stating, or what your local news is even reporting. Because this is what's happening in America. But they would like you to believe that people like me, people that look like me, are committing all the crimes. Yeah, they'll show us Shaniqua dancing on a police car, acting rowdy, acting wild, but they won't tell you that, oh, this girl is not Shaniqua. This girl is actually from the Caribbean. This girl is actually from Africa. She's not Black American. Her ancestry doesn't date back to 1526, let alone even 1619, that these people have a different culture. Black Americans have a very rich culture. And I've broken this down many times before, but they don't want to show you that. They just want to show you a Black face committing crime. So you can say they are the problem. So the white nationalists who are racist, they can say they're the problem. Oh, you know what? Now it's the Hispanics. Now it's these folks. But the statistics just are blurring to me of who are the group who are receiving the most hate and who are the offenders who are committing the most hate. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. I don't know why they don't point these things out. I don't know why they do not point these things out. I have no idea.
Yep.
I can't.
Are we done? Are we gonna go again?
Somewhere
Let go
else.
of you.
What? Are we done or are you gonna go again?
I physically can't let go.
Are we done or are you gonna go again? Get off me.
Mom, this is
Ah!
crazy. Hey guys,
the fuck
stop.
off
There's a
me,
senior
dude.
citizen walking through. Please
Off.
stop.
You started that bullshit.
Stop, dude.
You started that
Mom,
fucking
go.
bullshit, asshole.
Mom, go.
You better back off me, motherfucker.
You're literally still holding on.
Get off me. Get away from me.
Again, that's a very small example of violence in America. Of course, we can show videos from every group of people, every demographic of them in public assaulting one another. But again, the statistics do not lie. The statistics do not lie. But again, for people who are very biased may say, well, it's been fudged. These are forfeited. This is a scam. This is fraud. Now I want to jump to my last and final story here, guys. I really want to point this out because I am tired. I am so tired of Jasmine Crockett. I'm tired. I am so tired of Jasmine Crockett, very beautiful Black sister in Congress for the state of Texas. But my only question is, what is she doing? She's dancing. Now, her whole spiel against Marjorie Taylor Greene, a lot of us applauded that, speaking truth to power, you know, basically calling her out. But since then, she has just been a stigma in the Black community. You would think that her speaking up, her and Cory Booker doing a telethon. Cory Booker did a telethon. He just speaking. He talked for like 25 hours. All this is just symbolism. But when it comes to Jasmine Crockett, she goes viral because of the things she say, not the things she do. Why is this story right here so important? The Department of Agriculture reported that there were roughly 46,000 producers who identify as Black. So totaling 3.4 million producers. So there are Black farmers in America, and they do not receive any recognition for what they do, what they have accomplished, and what they have been through generationally. Why do I point this out with Jasmine Crockett? Jasmine Crockett, Jasmine Crockett, Jasmine Crockett. On some things, wow, I think she should tailor her speeches. You can't be like a Donald Trump who rarely reads his teleprompters. Jasmine Crockett needs to be censored, in my opinion. Freedom of speech. When I mean censored, I mean have her public speeches doctored so she knows exactly what the hell she's talking about. 46,000 producers who identified as Black, representing 3.4 million producers. So, Jasmine Crockett. Oh, boy.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right. We are not a country of immigrants. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this talking point that we are a country of immigrants. We have a lot of immigrants in America, but we are not a country of immigrants. We are a country that was started by genocide, murder, trickery, scams, fraud. We are a country of European colonizers, enslaved African descendants who are Black Americans today. We are a country of Native Americans, indigenous folk who are indigenous to the land, who have black color hue skin as well as red color hue skin. People who were here even before the European colonizers arrived in 1526. We are a country of three major groups: indigenous, Native Americans who have been here before European colonizers, who look like me and the typical red Native Americans. We are a country, are enslaved descendants of Africans, known as foundational Black Americans, that coincides with the Black Native Americans. And thirdly, European colonizers and their descendants. That is the country that we live in. Later, we became a country of immigrants where Irish, Chinese, Asian, all the Hispanics, all these other groups came over. And don't forget, when I speak about Native Americans, we understand that if you date back, I don't know the exact year, because when you look at the genotype and the phenotype of Hispanic and or Latino, they are a different mixture of different people. When you look at Native Americans mixed with people from Spain who speak Spanish, you have certain Hispanics, and how certain Hispanics look white, certain Hispanics look brown, and you also have what they label as Afro-Hispanics. That is because the Spaniards pillaged and raped all these different countries and all these different people. So you have all these different colors of Hispanics. That's why the U.S. Census Bureau does not constitute Hispanics as a race. It's an ethnicity, because Hispanics, and I'll just give you an example, like a Nick Fuentes call himself white, because yes, there are white Hispanics, and then there are brown Hispanics, and yes, there are Black Hispanics. There are Black Mexicans. There are Black people from the Dominican Republic. There are Black people all across the different countries of Central America and South America. Because even in Brazil, they call them Latino, but there are Black Brazilians, because the majority of African slaves, over 5 million of them, was actually taken to Brazil. So when we look at the different demographics in America, and someone tells me that we are a country of immigrants, yeah, we have a lot of immigrants in America, legal and illegal, but that is not how the country was founded. That is not the foundation of the people who were here before America was America, before 1776, before we got independence from the British. So when she comes up here and tells me that we're a country of immigrants, give us the full story, Jasmine, not just half the story. I'm just tired of that narrative. Let's be real about this. Let me back it up just a little bit, and I'm gonna let it play out, because we're gonna get on the Black farmers.
What immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
Okay, if we are a country, I thought I was gonna let it play, but if we are a country of immigrants, are you an immigrant, Jasmine? I don't know her background. I would like to believe that she's a Black American through and true, a foundational Black American. I would like to believe that. But is she an immigrant? That's the question that I have.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. Ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now.
She just stated that none of us are trying to go and farm right now. That's what Jasmine Crockett said. Well, who the hell is this? The National Black Farmers Associations, representing black farmers and families across the United States. Who in the hell are the Black Farmers Associating? And they're circling George Washington Carver right there in the back, the dark-skinned man. And again, he developed a lot of the technology that farmers still use today to grow their crops. George Washington Carver is famous for peanuts, but he should be famous for farming. He should be famous for soybean. He should be famous for plastic. That is why he should be famous. But what is Jasmine Crockett talking about? Is Jasmine Crockett a foundational Black American? Has her family been here for generations on generation? Who are these people in a lab? This is George Washington Carver's lab of him advancing technology in farming. 105 ways of preparing the human consumption, the peanut. The Black Farmers and Family Association, again, and this is not to denigrate our sister, but I'm just trying to find out, what is she talking about? What is Jasmine Crockett referring to? Talking about none of us want to go to farm. We have a National Black Farmers Association. I thought she would know that. Okay, this time I'm gonna let it play through. Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton.
Okay, we're done picking cotton, and that was a red flag. I thought I was gonna let it play through, but I have to show you. I really have to show you guys this because it's utterly important that we understand this. Let me refresh this page so I can show you guys exactly what I'm referring to. Now, this is the page for the National Black Farmers Association. And this black farmer here that you see on your screen, he's kind of been the face of the black farmers that you guys will see. You'll be familiar with his face when they show it. But I just want you guys to look at the imagery that they're showing about black farmers and the amount of land that they have, the crops that they produce for America. I'm going to let this go for a minute here because there's something I want to say, but I want you guys to focus. I want you guys to please focus on the crops that you'll see here on your television screen. Because the black farmers in the United States have experienced significant land loss over the past century due to a combination of systematic discrimination, as well as legal challenges and economic pressures. And there's a lot of key factors that contribute to this, that really contribute to the decline of black farmers in America. The United States Department of Agriculture has a documented history of denying black farmers equal access to loans, subsidies, and technical assistance. Black farmers matter, do they not? You see it on your screen. So what in the hell is Jasmine Crockett talking about that black people don't want to farm? We have black farmers. And if we have a documented history of being denied loans and equal access to funding, that tells me that black people wanted to farm. And this discrimination hinders our ability to sustain and expand our farms, leading to financial instability and in many cases forced sales of the farmland that black people have in America. Do you guys recall the class action lawsuit, Pigford versus Glickman in 1999, that really highlighted a lot of the injustices that we receive here in America, resulting in a settlement acknowledging the USDA's discriminatory practices? We haven't even touched on Harris property challenges because many black landowners pass down property without formal wills, resulting in Harris property. That land's jointly owned by their descendants. And this form of ownership often led to legal complication, making the land vulnerable to partition sales and exportation by developers or speculators. And of course, the USDA, they have identified Harris property as a leading cause of involuntary land loss amongst black farmers. What does that tell you? Billions of acres of land have been lost due to Harris property of black farmers. So what in the hell is Jasmine the Crockett is talking about? Because throughout history, black farmers have faced racially motivated violence and intimidation aimed at disposing them of their land. Incidents such as lynchings and threats forced many to abandon their properties, contributing to the decline in black-owned farmland. What is she talking about? We have limited access to markets coupled with discriminatory lending practices. This is why the face of the black farmers, as you've seen early on in the broadcast, why he went to Washington, why he was with President Donald Trump. Because a lot of these discriminatory lending practices place black farmers at an economic disadvantage. And these challenges made it difficult to compete with white farmers who had better access to resources and support, leading to financial hardships and land loss. We don't even want to get on federal and state policies, including the use of eminent domain, which have disproportionately affected black landowners. Land was often seized for development projects without fair compensation, further reducing black-owned farmland. They said, well, there's a white farm right here, 2 farms down there's a black farm. Let's put a highway through that black farm. Let's do eminent domain through that black farm because we are advancing America. How much is that black farmland? Oh, it appraised at $1.5 million. Okay, let's give them $500,000. Disproportionately affected black landowners because they didn't receive fair compensation. So they couldn't go and buy another farm. They couldn't go and buy another land. And what we have to understand, this is the face of black farmers right here. I know you guys are familiar with his face. But these interconnected factors have resulted in a dramatic decrease in black-owned farmland. And just to kind of give you guys some numbers here, from approximately 16 million acres in 1910, black farmers had 16 million acres in 1910 to about 2.9 million acres in 2017. So when we address their issues, it requires comprehensive legal, economic, as well as political reforms to support black farmers and prevent further land loss. So I absolutely have no idea. I have no idea what Jasmine Crockett is referring to. I have no idea. And she stated something about picking cotton, as if black farmers don't have cotton farms. We do. Black farmers have cotton farms. But again, Jasmine Crockett gets up on her podium and asks a question, which one of you black folk want a farm? What about the black farmers? What about the black farmers? I believe they want a farm. They also had a picture of this gentleman here in the midst of a cotton farm, which is still a huge commodity here in America. We still have cotton farms, but most of the cotton farms are done by machines. But Jasmine Crockett states that, which one of you want to go and farm? If there was equal access to loans, to subsidies, then I believe there's a lot more black people who would farm. And guess what our food would be? Anybody know? Guess what our food would be? Organic, non-GMO, no pesticides, no herbicides, no harmful fertilizer. It would be all natural. Think about that. It would be all natural. Yeah, the price would be a little, more than a lot of these canned foods and boxed foods. But I think America would be a lot healthier if they would allow the same opportunities for other farmers that they do here in America. But Jasmine Crockett gets up on her podium in Congress speaking to Black people as if we have never farmed before. Like Hispanics and Latinos and white folk are the only people farming. And when I mean by farming, and when I say Caucasians, I'm referring to them owning the farm, not stating that they're farming, that they're actually sharecroppers. Lord have mercy. Jasmine Crockett, on some issues, she really needs to stop. She really needs to be quiet because she has no idea the history of Black Americans in this country. And even in present day. They did a whole special on Black farmers as if we are a misnomer, like we're obsolete, like we don't exist. We do exist. We have Black farmers. But according to what she said, according to what Jasmine Crockett said, and the people are really calling her out because she's just talking.
Ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation. I know that's right. So I had to go around.
Lord, I'm so confused. Whoever believes what Jasmine Crockett is doing and what she's saying supports and helps the Black community, please raise your hand. Please leave it in the chat. Please leave it in the comment section. She is not helping Black Americans at all. She's, if anything, making Black Americans look stupid. And she only is representing herself. She's not representing Blacks in Texas. She's not representing Blacks in California. She's not representing Blacks in New Hampshire. She's not representing any Black people that I know. She's representing herself and the stupidity that she shows. You are in a small group where Black people are in attendance, and you make this monolithic statement to people who may not want to farm. Have you talked to the vast majority of Black folk and asked, would they like to start a farm, buy a farm? Would they like to farm? Because there's been reports, and I know you guys seen it all across social media, TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, X, also known as Twitter, of people starting their own farms in their backyards. What if you had the ability to, if you love farming, if you love planting, if you love growing, to do that very same thing on a very large scale and have that to make your way of life? Why couldn't that be such a thing? I'm just not understanding a lot of the people who look like you and I saying the things that they say, as if we don't have a vast history in America of doing the very same thing she is downplaying like we don't do. I digress. Last but not least, when it comes to our money, Bitcoin prices soared to 83.5 thousand. And now a lot of the pro-Bitcoin traders seem as though they're turning bullish. And this has always been a thing. They're stating that by the year 2026, 2027, that Bitcoin will reach almost $200,000. So if you have not invested, this is not investment advice, but just information. You might want to look into researching Bitcoin and see it may be profitable for your wallet. But nonetheless, I thank you guys for joining me here this morning. You guys have a great and wonderful day. This is Black Logic.